Hey everybody, it's me, the recovering Pharisee, Regina Ruth, back at you again with step 3. Remember, our resource is The Recovering Pharisee by John Fisher, fair use. And the third step, let's just review the first couple of steps first though. Step 1, we admit the most single unmitigated pleasure is to judge other people. That was all about judging. And then step 2 was come to believe that our means of obtaining a greatness is to make everyone lower than ourselves in our own mind. And now we're at step 3, which is a very difficult one. We realize that we detest mercy being given to those who, unlike us, haven't worked for it and don't deserve it. And detest, of course, brothers and sisters, means hate. So it's really saying that we realize that we hate mercy being given to those who, unlike us, people who aren't like us, haven't worked for it and don't deserve it. Fisher teaches that working for something and deserving something are near and dear to the Pharisees' hearts. And earning and deserving punishments and rewards are the making of a Pharisee. And the example that he uses is the example of the parable of the workers in the vineyard. And so Yeshua Messiah, Jesus tells this story that a landowner went out in the morning and he hired some men to work in his vineyard for an agreed upon sum of money. As the day wore on, the landowner needed more workers. So he went out and he saw some other guys just hanging around, and he asked them had they been hired, and they hadn't been hired, or did they want to work? And so he hired them, and it was at the 11th hour. So when the evening came, he told the foreman to pay the workers their wages, beginning with the last ones hired first. And so they were all lined up to get paid, and so the last ones got paid, and so the first ones that were there, the earlier ones there, they were waiting to get their pay. And then they noticed that everybody was getting paid the same. And so one of the men said, "Now just a minute here. These men who were hired last worked only 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us who have borne the burden of the work in the heat of the day. We've stood up here and we've worked all day long, and you're going to give them the same? We get the same? We're all getting the same pay? That's not fair, right?" And on the surface, when we think about it, it's not really fair, right? Because if you had come to work and you worked an 8-hour shift or a 10-hour shift or something, and then other people came and worked a 1 or 2 hour shift, it was late in the day, and you all got paid the same, that wouldn't seem correct, right? Well, this is the story, the parable that Yeshua was using to show how merciful and full of grace that he was. So the landowner said, "Friend, I'm not being unfair to you. Didn't you agree to work for a denarius? Take your pay and go. I want to give the man who was hired the last the same as I gave you. Don't I have the right to do what I want to do with my own money? Or are you envious because I am being generous?" Like most of the parables of Jesus, this one was told primarily for the benefit of the Pharisees. It was not really the equal pay that bothered them, but it was that they were equal as people. Because, see, remember, the Pharisees couldn't stand being on the same level with anyone else. The later workers there were the lame, the blind, the leprous, the publicans, and the sinners, and, well, basically just riffraff. And how could they be equal to them in any fashion, form, or manner? And Yeshua was trying to show them that he had no respecter of persons and that he wanted to be generous to all people. Well, Yeshua Messiah, Jesus, he was always telling the Pharisees about the rewards. And like he told them about giving, he said that if you give and you give and you make a big deal out of it, you blow a trumpet, you say, hey, look, I'm giving this $100, I'm giving this $1,000. He's like, you have received your reward. But he said instead, if you want to give and receive a reward, a different type of reward, basically, you can't let your left hand know what your right hand's doing. You have to give in secret. And he said the same thing about praying. He said when you pray, don't be like the hypocrites and pray all out in the streets where everybody can hear your prayer and oh Lord, this and oh God, this, so everybody can hear you. No, he said go into your closet and pray in secret, and you will be rewarded in the open. Well, see, recovering from Phariseeism, what I'm learning, is about giving up control. We have to realize that the Most High Yah and that his ways is not our ways. And we have to give up control over what we do for him and totally trust that what he does in and through us as we walk and live by faith. Our value comes because we are made in his image. This was a difficult step for me because when I first kept reading it over, I'm saying, well, I wouldn't detest mercy given to other people. But then the more I thought about it, the more I put myself in those other people's shoes. I put myself in the Pharisees' shoes. And I realized that if I had come to work and I had been there early in the morning with my crew, just to say all of us people that were on time and everything, and we had worked hard to the heat of the day, and then here comes these riffraffs coming all late, and they ended up getting the pay the same that I was being paid. Yes, I think that I had to admit that I had an attitude. So I had to realize that I detest mercy being given to those who, unlike me, haven't worked for it and don't deserve it. I am a recovering Pharisee.